we're going to have a bit of fun with our shape test this week, and we're going to try and draw our own mazes and labyrinths. In this video, I'll be telling you the difference between a maze and a labyrinth, and I'll be helping you to draw your very own maze. So, mazes and labyrinths. I wonder if you can identify which one of these is a maze and which one is a labyrinth. Let me tell you the difference. According to one definition, mazes have many branching paths, with only one path leading to the centre or exit. Labyrinths, on the other hand, only have the one single path, so they don't have lots of other options you can choose from. The earliest mazes and labyrinths we know of were found in Egypt and in Crete, dating back over 4,000 years. One of the most famous of these is the seven-circuit Cretan labyrinth, which we shall be learning how to draw. In Greek mythology, the Cretan king Minos owned a labyrinth in which lurked the Minotaur, which is a half-man, half-bull creature. The Romans built many mosaic labyrinths, which were typically found in the entrance halls of their villas. Mazes are still very popular today, with large ones found in grounds of parks and stately homes. I'm wondering if you've ever gone to visit a maze. So, a maze or a labyrinth? A maze has lots of different branching paths, whereas a labyrinth only has the one single path. Let's have a look at some examples. I'm wondering if you think that this one is a maze or a labyrinth. Can we see branching paths on this one? I think so. This one's very tricky and very intricate. Do we think it's a maze or a labyrinth? Also, do we think that that might be a picture of Mr. Verlander? Certainly looks like him. This next one, you get very peckish while you're trying to solve it. Do you think it's a maze or a labyrinth? Can you see lots of different branching paths or just the one path to the exit? This one looks like our mindful colouring. Can you see branching paths or is it a single path labyrinth? Here's an example in nature. Would we class this as a maze or a labyrinth? This one doesn't actually have a centre. It's more like a border that the maze is found in. Do you see a branching path or a singular path? This one looks like the one we were talking about with the Romans. So mazes and labyrinths can take you to the centre or take you to the outer edge of your maze. Where do you think this one's taken you? Is this one a maze or a labyrinth? Okay, we're going to have a go at drawing a branching maze, and you're going to need a couple of things. You're going to need some squared paper, a pencil, a good rubber and a ruler. Your squared paper you'll find in the PowerPoint on a link. So, when you're using your squared paper, you're going to need a pencil and draw out a big rectangle with an odd number of squares on each side. Here's an example. You might have 11 squares and 15 squares. Another example of two odd numbers you could use is 9 squares and 13 squares. Do you have another idea of odd numbers you could use for your grid? Okay, once you've done that, you're going to use your pencil to heavily shade in the alternate squares on every other row. Okay, let's think that through. So every other row means that your first row, you'll be shading alternate squares, and then you'll be missing a row. So one row shaded, one row not, one row shaded, one row not. Alternate means every other square. So this square will be shaded, this square won't. This square will be shaded, this square won't. And you'll create a nice little pattern on your rectangle. So we've just heavily shaded, which you can see here, the darker squares. We're now going to very lightly shade in the next set of alternate squares, but on every row this time. So alternate, one lightly shaded, one not, one lightly shaded, one not, one lightly shaded, one not, one lightly shaded, one not. And you're going to do it on each row. So you're going to create these sort of flower patterns that you see here. The squares will either be part of the paths or part of the walls. The white squares will be part of the paths. Now it's important you lightly shade because you are going to do some rubbing out, and this is when it's time to create the path. So you're going to make an entrance by erasing one of the lightly shaded squares on the edge. This could be any square on the edge, it doesn't have to be this one's just an example. Then continue erasing lightly shaded squares to make a winding path to an exit. So this is going to be your answer to your maze, how you follow your maze to the exit. Now it's time to fool people. Start creating new paths coming off this first path, but make them lead to dead ends. Make sure they don't connect to your original path. See how this one leads to a dead end? It doesn't come back to the path, it stops. After you've done that, you're going to want to heavily shade in the remaining lightly shaded squares. Then you can label your entrance and exit. Your maze is complete. Now it's ready to test on unsuspecting victims. Remember, the larger your maze is, the more difficult you can make it. I wonder how difficult you can make your maze. We'd love to see, and also maybe print and have a go ourselves. We hope you enjoy the activity. Share your learning once you've finished.